Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for September 27th. So I'm actually recording this on Saturday. It's Nova's first birthday. We're very excited around here. I was gonna, get him to do a video cameo, except for the very first time he got catnip, and so now he's sleeping the sleep of the stoned, right? So we're just gonna leave him. We'll do a pet parade soon. Okay, so unfortunately, Trump appears to be a bigger loser in Arizona than the poor fella thought he was. That's not going to go over good. You've got that Mike Lindell guy swearing up and down that everything's going to be reversed by Thanksgiving because he's out on some bizarre mental tangent. Biden has said he is not going to exert executive privilege on the stuff that's in the White House pertaining to what Trump did around January 6th. So that's a bit of a blow. So, it's starting to feel like September really isn't going to be a very good month for the con. But be that as it may, I want to actually take a look today at the voter suppression, the gerrymandering. And I want to see sort of how much of it is actually going to blow up in the faces of the GOP, because I actually really think that's exactly what's going to happen. So let's get started, shall we? I have a pendulum out here. This thing is lovely. I've showed it to you before on my Insights channel. If I have the name right, it came from Pumpkin Hollow. I believe there is an Esty shop called Pumpkin Hollow where it came from. God, I hope I got that right. Okay, so I'm going to use this one just to ask a couple of questions. And its movements are the same as my citrine one. It goes back and forth for when it's ready. Show me yes. And show me no. Okay, so you've got back and forth for yes and round for no. Okay, so my first question is any version of the sort of voter suppression bills, whether that is the John Lewis one, I know there's another one, I know there's another one that they're working on, are any of those actually going to end up becoming law, or is any one of them going to get signed into law? Oops, didn't want it to jump right out of my fingers. Okay, so that's a big yes. All right. Is that going to be in effect before the 2022 midterm elections? Okay, and you can see that's a strong positive yes. Okay. Is the GOP gerrymandering and voter suppression, is that ultimately going to backfire on the GOP? And that's yes. And so the next question is that because it inadvertently targets white voters? So what you have is you have the wealthy Republican voters, although most of them are actually corporations who are funneling money into these campaigns, etc. But what it does do is it impacts sort of the older, perhaps poorer, white voters. So the very people that like routinely get them into office is exactly who they're antagonizing, which is a brilliant piece of political savvy. Basic one is the House going to hold after the 2022 election? Is the House going to remain Democratic? And that's a yes. And is the Senate going to remain Democratic? Yeah. So, this is the thing. Even though right now it seems really, up in the air and whatever, we are, what, like 15 months away, 13 months away. Sorry, I can't do math this morning. From the midterms, a lot can happen. And the reality is, unfortunately, um, those southern states that are staunchly red, you're going to see them start to turn a little bit purple simply because the pandemic is having such a um, devastating effect on those people who are determined that they're not going to get vaccinated because, it's some big government conspiracy, whatever it is. So we know that the House and Senate at this point appear as if they're going to be Democratic. One can only hope that the Senate, let's just ask, is the Senate going to um, gain a slightly bigger majority? Yes. Okay, so that's really good news. I know that sort of the talk is that this is going to be a hard one for the Democrats because it sort of favors the Republicans in terms of who's up for reelection, et cetera. But, pretty consistently, I've been told that that actually is not really going to matter so much. So we'll see. And, this is the other thing. Here's another question. So, are the current sort of voting type restrictions, shenanigans, are they going to continue to really motivate independents and Democrats to get out for that election? Yes. Okay. And my other question, just because we're sort of on the topic of really dumb Republican behavior, um, ultimately, is Roe versus Wade going to be struck down? No. So it looks like it's going to hold. And it doesn't feel like it's going to be just smooth sailing, but it absolutely feels like it's going to hold. This question comes from one of my subscribers, Mark Toole, or Tooley, I'm not sure. Sorry, Mark. But it's a really good question, and in all this time, I've never thought to answer it. So, first of all, we're going to start with 2020. Is Trump going to be able to continue to have as much power in terms of the 2020 election as he appears to at this point? Is Trump going to continue to be in a real position of power by the midterms? Okay, well, that's interesting. Methinks his luck is changing. Mark's question was, is Trump going to be a kingmaker in the 2024 elections? Is he going to have that power to be a kingmaker? So it definitely looks like his reach is starting to dwindle. Okay. So let's take a quick look at the cards and see what they have to say. So I'm specifically looking at, voter suppression, how effective that's going to be, what that looks like. I've even lost track, but you've got 3, 4, maybe, other states with strong Republican governors who are, or a strong Republican base, who are also doing these ridiculous audits. But I want to see if any kind of good comes to them, or what happens there with that. Come on down. I have a question. Ooh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so things don't normally fly. So we have strength and we have the 5 of cups. So we're going to put them back in and see if they have specific messages for us. I can tell you right now, it feels as if the strength that the GOP believes they have is going to be lost. And, you know, I guess they're going to be crying over spilt milk. Good heavens, why are these cards jumping like this today? I guess they have a lot to say and they're anxious to get on with it. So let's just carry on and ask the question, shall we? Success of voter suppression attempts. Success of voter suppression attempts. Success of voter suppression attempts. So, like, this is the thing, right? Republicans just demographically can't win unless things are really gerrymandered, unless they are playing dirty, because frankly, their numbers are dwindling. You just don't have as many Republicans as you used to have. And what you have now is far more independents. You know, not a lot of Republicans have wholeheartedly jumped into the Democratic basket, but a lot of them have shifted to independents. And that independent vote is actually going to become really, really paramount in terms of elections going forward. And, you know, I don't know if you saw, I think it was on Friday, I saw something and it was talking about a Fox News poll that was published that, you know, they commissioned. And so they were sort of obligated to release the details. And it was like something like 70% or 75% of Fox viewers believed the vaccine was important and necessary. 60 some odd thought that the restrictions that Biden was putting in place were absolutely appropriate. And so even Fox is now, of course, we're not talking America One and whatever that other one is. I don't know, All Trump Network, maybe. Um, so even they are, you know, they're not kind of preaching to the choir anymore. The choir has gone off to sing a different hymn, maybe because they're dying. Okay. So, okay. So that completely blew my train of thought right out the door. So let me just focus in on these cards and tell you what they're talking about. And so what we have here is literally the GOP kind of trying to figure out how to get their ship to come in, how to manipulate things, how to, you know, make it so that they really are a contender as they go forward. And like I said, they're not going to, because the Republican vote and the Republican people are either becoming those hardcore extreme right, or they're shifting center and they're going independent. So there's that. There's actually a lot of infighting going on within the Republican Party, it looks like, because, you know, privately, these guys know that this big lie is a bunch of bullcrap, but, you know, they are too scared to say anything, and so they're going along and they're going along. But you know what? As things move forward, there's going to be a lot of discussion about, listen, this crazy is going to kill my political career. You know, because what are there? There's a handful. You know, you've got the Taylor Greens and you've got the Gateses and the Bobitts, and right. But by and large, you know, a lot of the Republicans are like, we're sticking to party line because that's what is expected of us. But man, oh man, we don't believe what's going on, and this is going to start to jeopardize my political success. And slowly but surely, it feels like the shine is going to continue to rub off when it comes to Don McCon, because they're going to realize that they are self-sacrificing. Same with you know, the whole gerrymandering and the voter restrictions stuff that's going on right now. It really is to sort of slow to become aware, which says enough about them. The fact that, wait a minute, we could be actually harming ourselves going forward. That, in fact, is a message and a lesson they should have taken from the recall in California. But, you know, again, a little slow off the mark. And it's, you know, listen, in a lot of ways, Republicans are far more savage and brutal than Democrats are ever going to be. So from that perspective, you know, you would think that they have the advantage kind of in a knife fight, right? But they've gone too extreme, and so they really, really don't. You're going to see a message that is getting really scrambled from them. You're going to start getting all of these sort of different messages from different politicians. It's like they are trying to walk on like a razor thin ledge. So they're trying to still, not antagonize Trump, but they're also trying to hold on to the Republicans in their constituency, their voters who, are not completely enamored with Trump. And as I said, as you move forward 13 months, you're going to see a lot of the people who are enamored still will not be enamored then. And so those politicians who jump and shout and scream that he's the best thing since sliced bread are really going to find themselves in a difficult position going forward. Yeah, you know what? This is it. Kind of the devil is going to have to walk away from what they're doing right now. They are going to end up discovering that this does not serve them well. And I feel as if the 2022 midterms are going to be a really, really clear example of that. Because I think a lot of this is going to backfire on them, because what they're doing is, you've got sort of two segments of the population that are getting madder and madder. You have independents and Democrats who are really getting fed up with all of these tight restrictions that are coming into place, whether that is, voting rules and regulations or a woman's right to choose. People are getting fed up with the kind of crazy that's going on in the Republican Party. Secondly, you have that other group of vaccinated people who are either getting sick themselves or worse, need other kinds of medical care and are not able to access it because the hospitals are plugged up with all these unvaccinated people. And this is what kills me. Invariably, you see these these little news clips, right? And almost always the person says, I have to get vaccinated. I'm telling you guys, you need to go get vaccinated. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Except the reality is they wished it on themselves, didn't they? GOP is going to discover that in some ways they really have built their own prison. And that which they try to steal, that which they try to take from any means other than honest, which, good heavens, I think is everything they do just about, is really going to be curtailed by kind of like, I'm hearing the words like long arm of the law, okay? So it feels like there's going to be some federal stuff that gets put into place that really stumps or stops what is going on now. It can't fix everything, okay? Because, state politicians, etc., have a fair bit of power and leeway, particularly when it comes to elections. But there are going to be things put in place that really are going to have the ability of, slowing down, minimizing, clawing back some of the crazy that's gone on here. I can also tell you, I'm being told right now that there are not going to be any audits that come back that prove anything different than the initial results, except a few votes here and there one way or the other. It actually feels like in a few of those audits, it's going to be a replay of Arizona where Biden's actually going to come out farther ahead than he was in the first place. And that judgment is going to be, passed on to the Republicans. It's going to kind of bring them to their knees because slowly, all those people who are hanging on to that last hope are finding it shattered, right? Just like Arizona. I mean, all those people like sitting in those chairs outside with that big screen television. Well, not one of them heard what they wanted to hear, did they? And so they're becoming more and more disillusioned. It's one of two things. Either they're becoming more and more disillusioned, or they're going farther and farther and farther left until they are extremists. It's one or the other. Again, I'm hearing that by 2022, it feels like I'm hearing 20 to 22% of Republicans are going to be hardcore. So it'll be interesting. And again, this is the thing. You're going to get, as you go forward, you're going to get more and more of these polls that say 80% of Republicans believe, Biden is not a legitimate president. 85%. Well, yeah, because they're polling a smaller and smaller group of people who are actually acknowledging they're Republicans. And so of course the numbers are going to get up, right? If you're polling 10 people and 8 of them are hardcore to the right, of course it's going to look like 80%, except a year ago, you could have polled like 100 people. So you've lost a significant amount of your base. That's what's going on. They're going to try their tricks. They're going to continue to work really, really hard. But let's remember, judgment sits here, and the devil is going to end up walking away because they've lost. They're not going to get good news, okay, as this continues to unfold. They're just simply not going to get good news. And McConnell is going to have a really hard time kind of holding it all together. I don't see a full-out revolt, but I also don't see him gaining a whole heck of a lot of ground at this point, as the energy looks, in the midterms. Because more and more news is going to come out that frankly is bad news. It's bad news about John McCain. It is bad news about some of the antics that are going on in terms of restricting voters, restricting rights. And ultimately, you're going to end up with a situation where more and more people kind of become activated and realize they really have to get committed so they can put a stop to the crazy. And you know who? The king of the con is going to become more delusional. Somebody asked me if I thought that Trump was going to get subpoenaed for that 1/6 commission. And I think he is. And I think he may even attend because he's going to see it as an opportunity to regain some of the spotlight. It's almost like too tempting because that kind of attention is his crack, right? I mean, that's what he is starving for because he can't get his message out to a broad enough audience right now because all he really has is that dumb blog from, the 45th president, because God forbid you should use the word former. So he's going to, I think, actually be desperate to get out there and tell his story and set it all right. But when the questions get asked and he keeps getting cut off, he's going to develop a very, very short memory. And he's not going to remember things, even big, important things. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember. No, I have no recollection of that. Those are the kind of answers you're going to get from him. And so, I mean, at this point, I guess, we'll see if they actually go ahead and subpoena him because, will sort of the humiliation that he faces be worth listening to the crap? I guess, but like I say, if he is subpoenaed, I really feel that he's going to go because he's almost not going to be able to pass it up. And so there you have that. Yeah, it's just not going to work. Justice ultimately is going to have the upper hand in this situation, and the will of the people, the wish of the people, the desire of the people, the majority of people is going to have to be realized going forward because the minority cannot sustain. It just can't. you have justice coming, and you have sort of that wish card. And so the wish card is telling us that, you know, the wishes, the hopes are actually going to be materialized, but it's not going to be by the GOP, because for them, they are playing too fast and loose with justice and the law, and that ultimately is going to come back and bite them. So, you know, they're doing their thing in shadows, and they're being idealistic, and they're trying to hang on to the very last shred of crazy that they can. And that's where they're sitting right now, kind of trapped by their own foolishness, short-sightedness. Yeah. So trust that this is going to go on for a little while yet. Okay, it's going to get, I think, almost scary. People are going to start to panic, like, oh my God, they're going to take over the country. It's not going to happen. It really does feel like it's going to backfire on them. And the average mom and pop, you know, those people that maybe have traditionally leaned Republican are now leaning or have shifted to independent status. And once that happens, and they're the ones who are vaccinated, and that yet they're the ones who are burying people. In fact, very often their friends and their family. You're going to see a bit of a seismic shift taking place. Okay, so there we have that. At this point, it definitely looks like whatever the GOP attempts is really, really not going to end up serving them very well. And I guess that's really good news, right? That's like good news. Actually, I think I said you're going to see this on September 27th. You're not going to see it on the 28th, which is the Tuesday. And hopefully you all have had a good weekend. Thank you so much to my new subscribers. I'm just thrilled that you're here and that you have found the Soulprint family. I hope you are enjoying the messages that I sent out on this format. Until next time, take care. Be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.